Morning, everyone. Welcome to another daily devotional where we continue to look at the Ten Commandments. We're dealing with the sixth commandment, you shall not murder. And today I want to see some practical applications of this particular command to some of the moral issues that arise within our society today. This commandment forbids the practice of abortion. Now, there are times when an abortion is necessary and when it is morally right. For example, in a situation where a mother, in order to carry a child to full term and for the child to be born, would gravely endanger the life of the mother. In such a situation, it is morally right for that mother to have an abortion if she knows that her life is going to end up being taken as a result of continuing her pregnancy. However, the vast majority of abortions that are carried out today are not carried out for this reason. They are more or less convenience abortions. The vast majority are abortions because someone has got pregnant when they didn't intend to. Someone has been having an affair and they don't want their partner, their wife, their spouse to know. Someone has conceived a child and as a result of a scan, they have learned that the child has a disability and so they abort. Most abortions take place today, and to put it quite bluntly, they are simply murdering an innocent, vulnerable human being who is not wanted by his parent or parents. This is a flagrant breach of the sixth commandment. Whenever the child is conceived in the womb, that child is a human being. And even though it's in the womb, it is to be afforded the dignity, respect, and protection that it deserves as a human created in the image of God. So we can say that according to the sixth commandment, abortion is, in the vast majority of cases, most certainly forbidden by this commandment. Another moral issue that comes up today that is also forbidden by this commandment is what is known as euthanasia. That is, the ending of a person's life because they are suffering from some particular illness. It is tragic to observe people suffering from very serious illnesses and diseases like motor neuron disease and other similar life-affecting illnesses. However, it is not justifiable to take that life simply to end the person's suffering in this world. It is not, in God's eyes, acceptable to take that person's life, even if the person himself or herself gives their permission to do so and wants their life to come to an end. It is God's prerogative to give life, and it is God's prerogative in His own time to take life. For another human being to intervene and to give drugs, medication of any kind that will proactively terminate the life of someone who is suffering, this is in breach of the sixth commandment. To give drugs that will ease pain and that will comfort, the effect of which will also likely shorten the person's life, this is not going against the sixth commandment. The goal in view is to ease their suffering and pain. It is not to terminate life. Euthanasia is the deliberate intervention by a doctor, a nurse, or another human being to give a medication that will take that life away. According to the sixth commandment, God views this as murder. Another area that this affects is the area of suicide. Suicide is self-murder. Now, don't get me wrong, we should have every sympathy with someone who, for whatever reason, is finding life unbearable, unable to cope with problems in life they're facing, and who takes their own life. But taking one's own life is not the answer, and biblically speaking, it should never be considered as an option. We know, of course, that people in such circumstances are not thinking correctly often when they do these things. Our heartfelt sympathy goes out to the loved ones, the family members of those who have been in these circumstances where a loved one has taken their own life. And it also has to be said that, unlike the teaching of some sections of the visible church, suicide is not the ultimate sin. It is not a sin that cannot be forgiven. All sin is covered by the blood of Christ for those who are in Christ. But suicide is contrary to the sixth commandment, and in God's eyes, it is a breaking of that commandment. Thank God that we have Christ, the one who has kept the law for us. We do not depend upon our ability to keep the law, but on Christ's ability to have done it on our behalf. As we bring this study in the commandment number 6 to a close, you may be thinking, well, I'm not guilty of any of these things. But then we have to remember what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5 verses 21 to 23. He tells us that if we are angry with our brother, we have already committed murder in our hearts. In other words, what he's saying is that attitude that is within us, where we hate our brother, is an attitude which, if it was not restrained, would ultimately lead to us taking that person's life. It is only by God's grace, his special grace, and his common grace, that such anger is restrained within us. The fact that it's there is evidence that the seed of murder is in every one of our hearts. Keep that in mind the next time you have angry and hateful thoughts towards another person. And remember that you are not to murder, either in action, thought, or attitude. May God bless these thoughts to our hearts this morning. Have a good day, folks.